You're going to be naughty from time to time. You're going to break the rules from time to time.
I found just in my own personal conversion to carnivore thing, now I feel awake, now I feel great.
Genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Elite athletes, they're the racehorse of the human race, and then everyone else is a pony.
To understand fat loss, body recomposition, muscle building, you've got to pay attention to hormones.
Fat and carb mix, boom, obesity.
I know a guy who knows a guy.
Cool, all right, today we are here. I am here. My name is Alan Harding, owner of Ironvor Fitness, personal trainer in Adelaide, carnivore, kettlebell, and boxing coach. I'm here with Anthony Fayes on the Anthony Fayes YouTube channel. Anthony, tell us, you're a personal trainer, carnivore coach,
Yes.
metabolic health.
Absolutely, all of the above.
So yeah, introduce yourself for the viewers at home.
Strength and conditioning coach, been a personal trainer for 25 years, initially specializing in sport specific, and then moved on to body composition as a specialty.
Fantastic, yeah.
So I love speaking with personal trainers because I think there's a special connection we have. We get each other, we can relate to each other, especially those 5 a.m. wake ups and early sessions and clients canceling last second and being on your feet all day and having to be on your A game, client after client. There's a lot I think I share with PTs that we could sort of sympathize, connect through that way. So
Keeping the energy levels up.
keeping the energy levels up, especially relating to certain problems in the industry. There's a tendency to get complacent if you don't, especially if once the money starts being not an issue and you've got set and forget clients, there's a tendency I find with personal trainers to become complacent and not want to grow and evolve.
Get too comfortable.
Get too comfortable, They end up becoming what's called dinosaur trainers. So they're stuck to old ways. Clearly science has evolved and it continues to evolve. And if you're not growing, you're sliding. So.
Fantastic. All right. So let's talk about training specialties.
Okay.
So from what I know, you've been, is it mainly doing body composition and bodybuilding for most of your career? Or is
Initially, it
recently?
didn't start. It started off with sport specific.
Yep.
So I was involved training athletes. I was training marathon runners and sprinters, 2 complete contrast athletes, one glycolytic, one oxidative, or some would call it, we'll speak about it in a second, aerobic or anaerobic, which clearly, as we'll discuss, doesn't really exist. But I was working sport specific for the first 4 years from 01, actually less than that, it was 2001 till 2004. So 3, maybe 4 years. And then from there on, so they were amateur athletes. And then from there on, I moved on to body composition as a specialty. So especially after the first Biggest Loser, once it was televised, I think the lights went on for me and many other trainers who I trained with. And they thought, wow, maybe there is a niche, maybe there is another pool in the marketplace to helping people lose weight. And that's what I've been doing since then. So,
were you associated with the show or just after the show was a big thing?
Yeah, so after that show, it was just this massive influx. I think this is
a big resurgence of clientele coming in for body composition?
Yes, because back when I started, it was more about, as a personal trainer, it was not really for the everyday person as you see today. It was reserved for celebrities, high net worth clients, or sport specific. They wanted to get a trainer specifically for something, but it wasn't for the people that had discretionary income to invest in someone to help them with their health and fitness goals, namely lose weight, improve muscle tone and so forth, or build muscle and so forth.
Yeah.
So now, when that changed, everything changed in the industry. Now we have influencers, now we have supplements, we have so many different gyms have opened up, apparel.
Yeah.
It's really evolved over time.
There's 1,000 modalities and 1,000 personalities as well, isn't there?
There is, and then personal training gets broken down, not just for specific athletic performance, but it gets broken down into what we call functional movement.
Yep.
Then there's rehab, then there's posture. There are so many areas you can decide to become good in the industry.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I had, when I was working, I had an alliance of other trainers, and great trainers learn to work with other trainers.
Yeah.
So if I'm good at body composition, that's all I did, and I stuck in my lane. So if a trainer was out of his depths or her depths when it came to for clients for losing weight, they'd pass them on to me. And for me, if I wasn't doing body composition, it would have been into rehab, because that really just fascinates me. I had one particular trainer, he was so good, magic with his hands, and I would pass him on to clients that had soft tissue injuries. I'd just handball to this particular trainer, and he would whip them up in shape, as in get them back to how they were functioning. Yeah. And this is how you have to have an alliance. You can't become this trainer that's good in every area.
That's true, yeah.
Like a Swiss Army knife trainer.
They say it takes a village, don't they? And
It takes
that's true. Yeah,
it takes a village.
It's true with all the clients. They need different things from different people, because there's no one super trainer
There
that
isn't.
can just do everything.
And you don't want to be a super trainer.
Yeah.
You want to, it's power with the people, not power over the people. So you want to work with the people, because it makes you a better trainer.
Ooh.
If I become this trainer where I can help fix problems, even if they're out of my depths, but I've got an arsenal of people around me that can fix a problem, that's fantastic.
It's great having a referral network in that
Yes.
sense, which like networking speak.
Yeah, it's like I know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know? So
I'll
I know.
sort you out. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll sort
Go
you
see
out.
Jimmy.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, I had a really smooth ride with PT. Well, actually, initially it wasn't, because I for those that know the story, from 05 to 09, I really struggled to get people in shape. It was a smooth ride in the sense of I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to pursue personal training, but I wasn't very good at helping people lose weight initially. And I used to think exercise was the Mr. Fix-It, and if clients weren't getting in shape, I'd flog them even harder.
Yeah.
Because that's what I saw on The Biggest Loser, you see.
Yeah. Well,
With all due respect, I mean,
Yeah.
there are certain things there's both warnings and examples. How not to be, how to be. Okay, now in The Biggest Loser, with all due respect, a lot of the trainers learnt what not to do. This is one of the reasons we don't have a reunion for any of The Biggest Losers.
Yeah.
A lot of them actually end up gaining a lot of the weight back.
Yeah. Well, it's I never really watched the show.
Didn't watch it?
I mean, I saw episodes here and there, or clips of it. But yeah, it was pretty brutal, wasn't it? They were sensationalizing everything. It wasn't really. It didn't look very healthy.
Taking somebody who's never exercised in their life.
And then asking them to do box jumps.
Yes, and then making them feel guilty and just shameful, and just top-down approach in management, just basically very, very superior to subordinate kind, looking up to down, and it's like a very drill sergeant style. Yeah, works for some.
Yeah, like the David Goggins of the world.
Yeah, it works for some. And that's another thing, if we were to open up another area, if we are going to speak about what makes a good personal trainer, I think communication is really important.
Yeah.
To have a particular style. I tend to have a conservative communication style. I think it takes a bit of emotional intelligence to be a good coach. You have to read your clients. You have to know the kind of space you're creating, and you have to be able to manage emotions and also read emotions of other people. So if you're the kind of person who's very drill-like sergeant, and then that client has completely disconnected, it doesn't matter what you do. That's been my experience. But
yeah, well, personal training is very personal.
yes,
You end up spending a lot of time with people.
You do.
Face to face, while they're, working their guts out, trying to do those reps, and as a trainer, I'm like, come on, push, 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 push. So yeah, they do need to be responsive to that. If they're not, then they're just shutting down.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the smooth ride became after 05, from 05 to 09, that was a train wreck, in the sense that I was out of my depth. I could not get clients in shape, in spite of what I did, how I underfed them, how I overtrained them. I just could not put it together. And I wanted to pursue this as a specialty, Alan. I just wasn't good at it.
So what was the turning point?
Yeah, okay, that was the
When was
sliding door.
the light bulb?
Yeah, so it was June 2009. I took a one-way ticket and moved to London, and during the heart of the GFC,
Oh, great
putting,
time! Yeah,
yeah,
great time to move.
I was putting out surveys everywhere. I was putting out Sushi Planet, Starbucks, and I just wanted to get some work. No one was hiring. Fortunately for me, I met a guy who knew of a manager at a really prominent, it was the creme de la creme gym. Like, you know how we have Next Generation here? Is it not
Yeah,
Gen X? What's it called here? What's it
it might
called?
be Next Gen. The
Next
one in
Gen.
North Adelaide.
Yeah, Next Generation.
Yeah,
It's a gym, but it's not really a gym. It's a
it's like a fitness facility.
facility.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Big place, loads of people.
yes, so you've got it's
High price tag,
high price tag,
tennis courts,
exclusivity, the lot. Yeah, so
boutiques, saunas, spas.
that's what this place was. It's the Chelsea Harbour Club, and I got work there. And from that work, clearly I was working with affluent clients, and they even at one point they used to have, I believe, they had a waiting list to become a member. That's how many people wanted to join the Harbour Club back then. But I started working with a doctor, and we became really good friends. Switched on doctor, knew his things. And where Lean 7 came about, this is where the name 7 came about, was he taught me that to understand fat loss, body recomposition, muscle building, you've got to pay attention to hormones.
That was the 7 hormones, wasn't it?
The 7
Yeah,
hormones. So Lean 7 covers the 7 hormones that drive, again, lipolysis or fat loss, body recomp. So people that don't necessarily looking for weight loss, but more so they need to build muscle mass. And as they build into a new physique, they start recomposing that physique. And then this little concept that I came to revolutionize, I think as far as I know, I haven't heard it before, but youthful aging. I didn't like to use the word anti-aging because we're all going to age, but can we age in the manner that is conducive to the DNA? Can we age in a way that we are in alignment with our genetic blueprint? So we're not burning the candle at both ends. We're not looking 60 when we're 35 and so forth. So youthful aging. And when I was working with bodybuilders, I started noticing, again, this is not a judgment call, this is an observational call, but many of the bodybuilders that I work with, they just looked weathered, they looked aged.
It's an extreme sport, isn't it?
It's extreme.
Yeah,
And because
the cycle of bulking and cutting and any steroids that they might be taking, you're going through these waves and cycles and lots of carbohydrates.
that's the other thing.
Yeah.
And it's just basically, it's body composition, maximum muscle, minimal body fat at all costs.
Yeah, like cookie cutter, I'm gaining weight, I'm losing weight, I'm gaining weight, I'm shredding,
That's right.
building, losing, yeah.
And so I noticed this contrast between when I started understanding more about, which we'll speak about, the carnivore diet, the ketogenic diet, I started noticing clients were showing signs of either age reversal or they were just really just looking healthy,
and glowing.
vibrant, glowing. We speak about the carnivore glow. That's what I discovered. Of course, it's not just about quote unquote calories, but food becomes this information to your DNA. You literally, and I use that word strategically.
You are what you eat.
Yes.
Yes.
And not only, especially as a carnivore, you're not just what you eat, you are what you ate. The quality of life of the foods, if you're eating pasture-raised eggs, or are they free range, or are they caged? If you're having grass-fed beef, if you're eating foods that are inflammatory, cooking in seed oils and so forth.
Yeah.
When I was traveling to Southeast Asia and also just recently in Kenya, I noticed the difference in the faces because they cook a lot with vegetable oils there. And again, you can see it differently, and they just age you quickly. These types of oils. So anyway, so I digress a fair bit there, but The youthful aging part, just to bring it round, is a concept that I've come about, that I noticed that when we start healing the hormones and we start recomposing the physique, we start slowing down the aging process. Yeah, so that was the 7 hormones. And yeah, hence Lean 7 came about. And it became from '09 to what we are today. It's almost plug and play. Clients are looking to improve their body composition. I just look for ready students who are going to take that leap of faith and change their life forever.
So your system is well, now it's evolved, I guess, over time, but let's talk about what the system is now. So it's, I haven't looked, to be honest, but from what I've heard, it's like a 3-month buy-in sort of intensive program. Is that how it works?
Yes, so the way it works is the hormones, certain lifestyle interventions switch on or switch off hormones, and it's important to work with the 7 hormones. How can we coexist? How can we create certain lifestyle habits per day that maximize the production of these hormones?
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with circadian biology. A lot of that has to do with going back to Mother Nature and going back to our roots as anthropologically, evolutionarily, how we ate.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Hence the carnivore diet, the ketogenic diet. But also the training philosophy is to train in a manner that maximizes the production of certain hormones which augment muscle and prevent muscle breakdown.
Send those signals, yeah.
Yeah, more of the ones that grow muscle, less of the ones that break down muscle. So it is a 90-day journey. Now, this 90 days, I've seen some dramatic changes take place, but for those that produce above average results, there are some unique physiological responses that take place. Namely, if a client has some gene mutation that allows them to build, if they're a hyper responder, that allows them to build muscle very quickly or lose body fat quickly.
That was one of the topics I want to bring up later on. We're going to talk about genetics and epigenetics and stuff.
Then it also comes down to the kind of platform certain clients have come to me with, meaning if they have a history of binge and restrict, if they have a history of diet, crash dieting, excessive fasting, that tends to play a role with their results, because now as a coach I have to work on maybe healing the metabolism first, getting them to understand that it's okay to eat more food.
That's when I went carnivore, I had to go through that healing cycle first as well. So yeah, totally understand that and sympathize with that. And some of my clients, as you'd know with your clients, some of them are under eating, some of them are overeating, some of them have been starving themselves, some have been sleeping terribly, some sleep great but drink, I don't know, 5 Red Bulls a day or whatever. Like all these things that we have to sit down and talk to them about, don't we? You know, you got to talk to them and say, okay, let's look at these red flags first. Yeah.
Like you said, it's personal. Personal training is personal.
Yeah, everyone's got a different story.
They do. So the 90 days is really, you might not be able to change it overnight, but you can turn it around overnight and go another way.
Yep.
So in the 90 days, those who get, let's say, modest results or good results, they are then equipped to then take on what they've learned.
Now they've got the tools to move
Correct.
on. Yeah.
Maybe it might take them 6 months. It might take them a year. And that's another point to make. Most people are so fixated on short-term results. Oh, I only lost, 2 kilos this month. Hey man, that's 24 kilos in a year. Okay, let's just step out of the month thing and look at it over a year, what it would do.
And people don't realize that it's taken their whole life to get there.
Correct. Yes.
You know?
You didn't gain this excess weight in 90 days. Don't expect to lose it in 90 days.
That's right, yeah.
So that's the program. It goes for 90 days, and I coach people now. Fortunately, after 25 years of personal training, I've now moved out of the one-on-one into the online arena, and it's been very promising lately. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. So
Yes.
it's going well?
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
and it allows me to reach out at a greater audience, to be able to work with people, all sorts of
Spread your
backgrounds.
wings.
Yes, I
Yeah.
mean, they're clients in America and Canada and in Europe and South Africa, Australia, of course. Yes, Asia.
What's the most interesting location one of your clients has come from? One that you remember?
Yes, I remember working with a lady, and she was Cayman Islands.
Cayman Islands, yep.
Yes, one particular island where she's just basically working out of there. And that's the other thing, man. Think of technology. The fact that people know that you exist because of a podcast that went viral.
Yeah, from the other side of the world. Yeah.
Yes, that is
From
just
some
so
other
humbling.
culture,
That's so
some other
humbling.
place. Yeah.
Or I was recently telling a friend, you get onto a discovery call, we call it, like people book in a consult with myself, and then they know that you exist, and they're like from San Francisco, and they say things like, watched all your podcasts, huge fan. I'm like, really, man?
Yeah.
This guy from Adelaide is
Yeah.
a tiny little town that we
Little
have.
old Anthony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, it's really humbling
Yeah.
to be able to know that people know that you exist. Honestly, it's very humbling.
It must feel really good to touch so many people from so many diverse places, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think, but we all have one commonality, and that is, number one, we want to end suffering. Number two, in fact, the two things that every living species on the planet, I would say, have in common. Number one, no one wants to suffer. And number two, we all have a will to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what I've noticed as a commonality amongst all of my clients are those two, with the third one, to reach their fullest potential. To live a life of purpose-driven life.
Yeah.
That allows them to live their fullest potential. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone has to find their own meaning, their own potential, and yeah, totally resonate with that. It's important that everyone finds what makes their life tick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It says that
and their why for training, which we talked about at the Carnivore convention. You know, when their why cries.
Oh yeah, make your why cry.
Yeah, like when the cry is louder than the pain of staying the same, then you'll go and change.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Alrighty. Fantastic, Anthony. All right, let's move on to some topics that I've made some notes about.
Great. I love your topics.
Yeah. So I thought let's start for the audience and for ourselves. We can explain to each other our definitions of the two words. So we've got health and fitness. And they're different words for reasons. So
It's funny how we use them together.
yeah, because like health and fitness, it's like one syllable.
Funny that.
Yeah.
But really,
I want to be fit and healthy.
I want to be fit and healthy.
Yeah.
Well, this goes back to one of the quotes my grade 6 primary school teacher, PE teacher, said to me, and that fitness is specific.
Yeah.
Somebody says
Totally
to you, I
agree.
want to be fit. My question is, fit for what?
Exactly. You can be fit to run a marathon. You can be fit for bodybuilding. You can be fit to do UFC.
Correct.
Like a Phillips head, I like to use this analogy. A Phillips head fits a Phillips head screw. A flat blade fits a flat blade screw. So that's fitness. And health,
Well, yeah, so if fitness is specific, and the reason why it's specific is because there are different components to fitness.
that's true. Yep.
Okay. Well, health, I would argue that the universal definition is the absence of disease.
Absence of injury and illness. Yeah.
Absence of
Yeah,
injury and
that's probably if you look it
illness.
up in a dictionary. It's probably what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, we may be able to hit, let's use bodybuilders, because I work with them. Body composition is a fitness component.
Yes.
One of. You might, and this is the area that I go to war with every day. You may be optimizing body composition on one side, and let's say, okay, you might tick other areas like power, muscular strength, these all maybe even speed. You might be ticking other fitness components outside body composition. But just because you've optimized body composition does not mean you are necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
And this is an area in the industry, in the health and fitness industry, that many people still do not understand. But because it's very visual,
Yeah.
I want to look like that.
TV star, magazines. Yep.
Yeah. Bodybuilding is one of the least healthiest sports.
Especially at the extreme end.
The extreme
Yeah.
end. Some would say natural bodybuilding would be a lot healthier.
But they're still going through the cycles.
Oh, bulking
yeah,
and cutting.
bulk cut. Yeah.
But not only that,
And a lot of them like skip the cardio and they just do walks. You know, they're not trying to go hard in cardio. So I guess like health, circling back to the word health, like we're talking about, I like to think of it as the absence of injury and illness, but that means that all the body systems, so respiratory system, cardiovascular system, musculoskeletal system, central nervous system,
lymphatic.
yeah, lymphatics, all the systems, all these systems, every little
Hormonal.
system, yeah, the hormonal system, yep. So everything's working correctly
Mm-hmm.
and in sync. So it's fed well, watered well. You eat the right food, you drink the right water, you breathe the right air,
Mm-hmm.
and wham bam, your body's got everything it needs to do, in theory,
Mm-hmm.
to be healthy. And then we start looking at fitness. So I think we both agree on that, because that's like you use nutrition as a base for your training, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, nutrition, the right prescriptive exercise,
Yeah.
and I would also add in there personal development as a mindset
Mindset's
side
huge.
of it.
Yeah.
But you've got athletes that want to pursue performance and they want to get really savvy in the fitness side of it, and it often is at the expense of health.
True.
Long distance runners I've worked with who are now having hip replacements.
Yeah.
Same with power lifters who are now having issues with joints. So
That's the trade-off, isn't it?
that's the trade-off with the
for
beauty.
being like athletic to a certain level where, like, yeah, you're not concerned about your health. You know, you want to run a marathon sub 3 hours or 2.5 hours. Yeah, you're going to have to run some Ks.
Well, with the beauty comes the beast.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful with that, this is where some athletes can get really, like we said, David Goggins style. You know.
Who's going to carry the boats?
Yes,
that's right.
and they've got just this tunnel vision,
Yeah.
and they don't see it coming, and it becomes this identity attachment, meaning, can I do it at this age, and can I do it at that age? Because for them, it validates to them as to who they really are. I used to be like this, and I want to see if I could continue being.
Yeah.
One of my mother's friends said, we have limitations, but it's very hard to accept that as we get older, that we have limitations.
Yeah, true.
Especially if you use your body as a validation, a reference as to what you're capable or incapable of. I know as I approach now my later fifth decade, okay, as we approach into the later years of my fifth decade, that there are certain things that I can't entertain as I used to in my 20s. And I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
It takes maturity and understanding that you are not your identity, that body that you have is not who you are.
Yeah, your identity is attached to all kinds of different things in your life.
It is.
Like, I mean, with my injury history and stuff, like when your identity is stripped away from you and you're left wondering, what do I do now? You know, like, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's huge.
Athletes have that.
Yeah.
You think of soccer players that finish their career. I think David Beckham was a perfect example of having to now pick up the pieces and say, okay, if I'm not the footballer, who am I? And they go through this crisis for quite some time. And I think a lot of the athletes in the extreme sports that continue persevering in spite of their bodies falling apart, giving them signals, hey, This was in your 20s when your hormones were thriving, when your robustness and everything was like a finely tuned oil, like a machine.
Yeah.
Now it's just not going to be the same, and they don't want to accept that. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean you should not persevere and not pursue excellence. Okay. Because, you know, life is the ability to keep death at a respectable distance. And we're going to just keep pushing and especially building muscle. I'm a big advocate of continuously getting stronger or striving for progressive overload, getting stronger within your body's capabilities, that is. But we do have limits.
Yeah. Strength is the foundation for all fitness.
It is.
Like if you can't, if you're not strong enough to stand up, you don't have enough strength.
Correct.
And apply that to all the different levels. I mean, this is a good little segue to talk about like genetics and epigenetics, because genetics is the difference between a racehorse, you know, so these elite athletes, they're the racehorse of the human race, you know, and then everyone else is a pony. But does that mean that we shouldn't be fast ponies? No, not necessarily. You know, we might want to be a fit pony.
Yeah.
But you could be like a draft horse, racehorse, pony, little Shetland pony. I don't know. But that's like the difference between someone that's 4 foot tall, someone that's 7 foot tall, you know, hair color, eye color, all that kind of stuff, like muscle mass, like predisposition to gaining muscle, etc., which you alluded to earlier.
Fiber type, composition.
Yeah. Type 1, type 2 muscle fibers, all that kind of stuff.
Even arm
limb length,
and so forth.
Yeah, you got people that are great squatters, people that are great bench pressers, people that are great power lifters.
Yes.
Olympic athletes like swimmers versus basketball players.
Well, children from a young age, they tend to know what they are composed of, because that's where they gravitate when it comes to
they get good at something in school. Yeah.
You think about it, I never liked cross country. My brother loved it.
I was never a big runner.
Okay.
And I've only just started running this year because I want to do high rocks. And I am very slow at running, you know, but I was never a runner. And that was, you know, my experience when I was in primary school, high school was, kids always beat me on the runs, you know, like, haven't got the leg length to be a runner. But the epigenetics. So, because everyone's heard about genetics, we're talking about the hard code. That's the code of the video game, right? You know, which game are we playing? That's your genetics. But then the epigenetics is how those genes are expressed over our whole lifetime. So we're born a squidgy little baby. We have our genetics. That's it. We're stuck with those genetics. But then all the food we eat, any toxins, how much alcohol, how many drugs, whatever, over your whole life, injuries, illnesses, all these kind of things affects how our genes are expressed. So you got any thoughts on epigenetics and how it applies to training?
So genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah, that's good.
Basically in the sense that you may have a predisposition based on your genetics, but you may keep that predisposition in remission and never have it fully expressed based on the fact that you've chosen to not switch on the gene through lifestyle and then aggravate that.
Yeah.
Autoimmunity is a perfect example of that. My parents, my father and his mother, both passed away with diabetes. So there's diabetes in my family.
Yeah.
And
type 2 or type 1?
Type 2.
Yeah.
Type 2. And so lifestyle, really, how we live our life, the foods that we eat, they, as I mentioned earlier, the DNA, it is an expression of the DNA. Food becomes that expression that switches on these genes and further amplifies the process, and that becomes your destiny, your fate. You see?
Yeah.
So
true, very true.
So this is what the power of epigenetics is. You can slow down, or if not switch off certain genes simply by your lifestyle.
Yeah. It's very true. It's like on a scientific level, it's literally how the genes like unfold and proteins bond. I mean, someone, you know, a professor would be able to explain it much better than I can, but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. you drink poison, that affects that process.
It does, and this is the area that I said earlier that I go to war with when it comes to nutrition. That it just beyond can we just get out of the idea that it's not just about the calories? Can we start looking at ingredients?
Well, calories are literally, it's a unit of measurement.
Measurement of
for energy. They put the food or the drink in a beaker with a bunch of oxygen. They set it on fire, and they measure how much heat comes out.
Yeah.
Our bodies don't work like that.
No,
Do they? No.
we don't combust. We consume.
Yeah.
For chemical processes.
Yeah.
And we need. It's so funny how we're using the calories as a measurement of effective food energy.
Yeah.
But really, and this is why we have people making unwise decisions when it comes to food, is because they solely focus on the calories that are in it, and they try to meet their macros based on those calories, completely oblivious
to the other,
to the other factors, namely
Protein,
epigenetics. The fact that if I'm eating this, what if there's ingredients that set off certain genes that I'm not aware of? Oh, but I've got a six-pack.
Yeah.
You see? So the better you are at understanding about Mother Nature and how we evolved to eat as humans, then the wiser you become at making the right choices, the ones that support your genetics and then hence your epigenetics.
Well, our bodies are a system of chemical signals. That's like the language that the body speaks. I tell my clients all the time, the body doesn't speak English, doesn't understand maths, it doesn't understand like 10 reps, 12 reps, 15 reps, whatever. It doesn't know what you're thinking. It's a chemical signal. So there's an electrical and chemical signal. You've pushed your bench press until failure. All right. The proteins in your muscles have gone and changed a little bit chemically.
That's right.
So, there's compounds in your blood have mixed with the proteins in your muscle. Nothing is to do with English or math.
Well, somebody once said, the body will complain, not explain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a
So
good one.
it'll complain through feeling, discomfort, but won't actually explain how to fix that. Because again, if you're dealing with let's say a reoccurring pain, it might be referring elsewhere. Rehab speaks about that. Chiros do, physios do. They understand all these.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah.
ART practitioners.
Back pain is often felt, sciatica, like down the leg, where it's.
Well, yeah, a lot of the back
it's a
pain.
nerve problem. Yeah.
A lot of the, as we digress for a second, a lot of the lower back pain. Number one, inflammation. How many people got on carnivore and then all of a sudden their back pain's dissipated?
Yeah.
Number two, a lot of the times it could be the psoas major, which is a muscle around through the hips, and it tends to compress the lumbar spine, and it causes a signal to the brain that says, hey. So when I had my lower back pain, I'd have my psoas major released, and every time I'd get it released, it was just instant relief.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We get our brains go into like protective mode. Like when I had a back injury, a slip disc as they call it, and that impinged nerve then led to my brain putting in protective factors and tightening everything up, and then more pain, and
tight muscles are actually not a good sign.
That's true.
They need to be supple. Muscles should not be tight. If they're tight, that is a signal that something needs to be fixed in that area. Okay, again, the body's getting to that fetal position. It's tightening up. It's trying to protect the area. Yeah,
it's true. So circling back to energy systems a bit. So we were talking just before about the language of the body. So energy systems. Let's talk about energy and the role that plays, because we're talking about calories. So you and I both agree, like, calories aren't really energy. Well, they are. They're scientific measurement of energy. It's a great benchmark. Lots of people have great success, picking a calorie target and sticking to it. But that's where the nutrition, the protein, the fats, that all falls to the wayside while they're hitting this calorie target.
Yeah, I would call it effective chemical food energy.
Yeah.
The long way around it.
Yep.
But yeah.
What's that? ECFO.
What's,
No, ECFI. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it is. It's effective chemical food energy, and they all impact the body differently.
Yeah.
Hormonally, they'll be impacted. The way blood sugar gets impacted differently with different foods. So it's not all the same. And we know that because you eat a cupcake, you know within half an hour to an hour, if you're not fully asleep after the cupcake, you're going to be hungry for something else. So you take 100 so-called calories of a cupcake as opposed to 100 so-called calories of a ribeye, and sure enough, there'll be a different size for each one.
One's going to be satiation, one's going to be a dopamine signal that
That's right.
requests more dopamine. Yeah.
And as you raise blood sugar, you raise insulin, which is the first hormone in the lean 7, and it blocks leptin, which is the other hormone that tells you that you're full.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not really just a calorie is a calorie. They're not. They all have, and we know that. But in the fat loss game, a calorie is a calorie. But it's really not.
Well, it brings up the topic of the liver and the function of the liver. And I mean, in my understanding, the liver is like it's a
filter.
It's either storing energy or using energy. You're either producing blood glucose and ketones for the body to use as energy, or you're storing excess energy because your blood glucose is too high.
And then your body's storing.
Then you're storing fat. Yeah. So it's like, and it seems to me that the liver is either switched that way or that way.
Yeah, and it will really switch depending on again the food you're eating.
Yeah.
Okay, we know that excess fructose, the body can only metabolize a certain amount of fructose, and it does not raise insulin, and so de novo lipogenesis, the storing of fat into the liver is as a result of excess fructose consumption. There's only a certain amount the body can tolerate.
And that's when it's storing it directly in the liver too.
Correct.
With the fructose,
Correct.
Leads to fatty liver and disasters for a lot
And
of
you
people,
don't even have to be fat. TOFI, TOFI, thin on the outside, fat on the inside.
Yeah, the skinny fat.
Yeah, you can still
Lots of visceral fat.
Which is actually alarming for people to realize they have a fatty liver and they're not very fat.
Frequently seen with alcoholics
Yes.
in days gone by, but now it's seen in children.
Well, yeah. Now they're calling it non-alcoholic fatty liver.
Yeah, non-alcoholic fatty liver.
Because children don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
But because they drink so much soda pop,
fruit juice and cordial, and
they ramp up the same. Because I think fructose converts into ethanol in the liver, in the same way, creating a fatty liver. The way that alcoholics drink alcohol, which is ethanol, and they end up having this fatty liver. And they haven't had a sip of alcohol. Yeah. And that's why they've changed it to...
Haven't even enjoyed a drink. And
I know. It's crazy.
Terrible.
So, yeah.
Now, glycogen stores, so we're talking about the liver. So we're talking about storing energy or using energy. And at the seminar in Melbourne recently, you and Veronica were talking about carbs. So this is... Let's narrow this down a bit. So... keto adapted or fat adapted athletes, right? Carnivore diet, ketogenic diet, so low carb athletes. So where does is this kind of topic, is this like anecdotal evidence for yourself and Veronica?
I would say,
like, because for anyone that is watching, Veronica is an ultramarathon runner. You've been heavily in the high intensity weight training, because I think your training style is
HIIT,
like super low reps, but like it's heavy. You go to like full failure, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah, momentary muscular failure, and typically the rep ranges are between 6 to 8, maybe sometimes 10 for the upper body, and then slightly higher for the reps for the lower body. But it is.
So it's an intense push. We're trying to get maximum power to move that weight, and in Veronica's case, it's like hard running for a long period of time.
Yes.
So standard athletes that are like carb athletes would be sucking down maltodextrin gels on their bikes, which I used to do when I was cycling.
Yeah.
Got to have your gels, otherwise 90 minutes in you're going to bonk. You're going to bonk, you're going to fail, you're going to keel over from low blood glucose. So the discussion you guys were having was about just a little bit of carbs.
And I would say it would really come down to the kind of athlete, because if you are an ultra marathon runner, even if you're doing excessive cardio, the ketones tend to really shine with that kind of modality of training.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a constant supply.
You're in that. We can talk about aerobic, anaerobic later, but you're in the aerobic zone. You're
able
burning
to
oxygen.
Yeah, and the body is able to, gluconeogenesis can happen in a rapid way in that particular, in the supply of energy is meeting demand, and so gluconeogenesis can work. And ketones play a huge role in that. But where I'd find, you know how we have bonking?
Yeah.
Well, I was having that with high intensity training when it came
The
to
weight training.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I don't know the science behind it. Again, I'm just going through anecdotal evidence, but the moment I started adding a small amount of carbohydrates only around training, typically pre and peri, before and during.
Yeah.
Okay. And
do you have a specific grams or?
Yes. Well, again, I was experimenting with this because when you have too much, you tend to...
You just bump your insulin and...
You become hypoglycemic, and that's a problem because now we're raising
then you're in a real bonk after.
Yeah. We're raising glucagon, we're raising cortisol to try to get more glucose, okay? Which is not a good thing because there is a fine line just to how many carbohydrates to have to provide the fuel necessary. I spoke about earlier about a hormone that you want to keep down when it comes to lifting weights and any time, cortisol, because there is the issue with high levels of cortisol. And so a small amount, typically 0.5 grams per kilogram of lean body mass. Okay, so if you're...
So about half your weight in grams.
Of lean body mass.
Though. Oh, lean body mass, yeah.
Not your full total body weight. So let's say if you're 20% body fat and you're 80 kilos in weight, okay, so that would be, whatever, 16 kilos under 80, what's that? 64? 64 kilograms. So then half of that would be like 32, 33 grams of carbs around training. Okay, around training. So
but not in one large bolus, like in... So some before, so you'd have like half of that before and
15
half
to 20 grams. And then maybe another 15 midway through. And it might mean like a couple of tablespoons of honey with a bit of salt on the top. It might mean that. And I tend to find that made a difference. And I'm only going with anecdotal evidence here. That is, my lifts were getting... I was noticing I was recovering better. I was lasting... I'm not one for duration when it comes to training. I'm one for intensity. I'm a big advocate of intensity. But I noticed that when I started adding those targeted carbohydrates, I was able to break through plateaus, beat personal bests, and continue on. And I've done it on and off multiple times. I've taken it off, and I've crashed. I've put it back on. So that's my take on it. Now, there's a science behind it, which we won't go into full detail around.
I'd love to see some studies on it. I mean, it's very hard for random control trials to be run on diet in any sense, really.
But I must preface that the longer you do go in becoming fat adapted, the better gluconeogenesis works for you. The ones who really struggle are the ones who haven't really tapped into it for a long enough period, and the length that I'd recommend would be nothing under 6 months. 6 months minimum.
I found just in my own personal conversion to carnivore, it was like 3 months until I like just kind of bing, now I feel awake, now I feel great. You know, the first month was terrible. Like that's another podcast, that one.
Right. But the moment you become flexible to change from ketones to glucose, if you have that metabolic flexibility to do that, I think carnivores would work so much better, especially with high intensity, but after the 6 month period to then throw experiments, see what happens. Maybe throw 20, 30 grams around training and just see. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. I noticed it was for me, and I noticed it with many of my online clients that they definitely felt the difference.
I'd love to know like the threshold
As to how
where it
much.
makes a difference? Like,
Yeah.
like energy outputs, for example. Let's say you're talking about cyclists. So you can easily measure a cyclist's power output. You know, put them on an erg
Yeah.
machine, measure their power over certain time frames, measure their heart rates, lactic threshold, all that kind of stuff, and you could probably fairly easily figure out. Well, if you had a carnivore / keto adapted cyclist, run them like through a ramp test or something, and
It'd be
then
great to sort
2
of
days
see.
later run them through a ramp test with a little bit of carbs. You know.
And it also depends on the cyclist as well. Are
Yeah.
they a sprint
Or how-
cyclist?
Yeah,
What kind of
it's
cyclist
true.
are
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
Again, you see.
Yep.
So for me, all I have is just data as far as reps and load.
Yep.
And if they're going up, it's saying something.
Yeah, happy days. Yeah,
It's saying something. Now, it doesn't mean I handed in my carnivore card.
that's right.
It just means that I'm a carnivore, structuring it in a way that I'm optimizing my training and the training response by using a certain substrate that seems to be more advantageous during certain modalities of training, namely glycolytic, namely high intensity. That's what I've noticed specifically
Yeah.
to me and to many of the clients that I've trained.
Well, I guess I'm dirty carnivore. You know,
Okay.
like I am carnivore, but I still have coffee.
Okay.
I have butter in my coffee. I have a little bit of milk in my coffee. If it's, you know, my niece's birthday or whatever, I have some ice cream. You know, I'm not.
You'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like for my training, like I'm in the sort of functional training space. You know, I do kettlebells and free weights, and I like to have that sort of general fitness, like functional hybrid athlete is like, I hate the word, but yeah,
I know.
this sounds wanky, but yeah, anyway, yeah,
It does.
yeah.
But
But you know, like high rocks, I thought this year I'm going to set my sights on high rocks. You know, it's a performance event. You know, you run, you do all the exercises. So you know, it's an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how fast you are, or unless you're elite, and then you're like under an hour. But yeah, so this year I'm training that way. So yeah, I'll probably will start experimenting with some carbs to see how I go. Because it does ring with me. When I heard you guys talking about it at the convention, I was like, yeah, you know, I can handle a little bit of carbs.
It doesn't mean that the moment, because a lot of people have had bad experiences with carbohydrates, and rightly so. We're not designed to consume them.
Yeah, like chronic consumption is what led me
Correct.
to being unfit and unhealthy. You know, like, because back in the day, like when I was in my 20s, it was calories are calories. As long as you're not eating too many calories, you can drink as much Coke as you want. You can eat, you know, as many chips as you want. As long as it's under this threshold, you won't get fat.
You know, how's the epigenetics serving you on that department?
it's
Because
terrible.
you might not get fat, but how's that serving your metabolic
Oh,
profile?
it destroyed my gut health, my mental health, everything. Yeah, it destroyed everything.
Yeah.
So going carnivore was the best thing ever for me.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it becomes an insurance policy and also a peace of mind to a lot of people that they've finally found something that speaks truth to them specifically. Now, nutrition is one area. It's almost like religion. You think about it, there are so many different religions.
Yeah.
And certain religions speak more truth to people than others. Some may choose the Buddhist path, some may choose Krishna, some may choose Islam, Christianity, and so forth.
Yeah, all the different flavors, all the different gods.
That's
all the different
right.
Cultures and stories and histories, yeah.
And they gravitate to those because that's what speaks truth to them. And that which resonates is what truth is. So if you use your vessel as an experience of what speaks truth to you specifically, who are we to wrong the rights of people that feel the best on a certain way of eating? We're not. Everybody's, like I said earlier, people are seeking for, they want to avoid pain and suffering. They want to live their life at their fullest potential. And they have a will to live. That's the three commonalities we all have. And the will to live, if I can find a particular way to eat that gives me a peace of mind and it gives me what I think I need to improve my genetic potential, then I'm going to go down that path.
Yeah.
And I'm going to allow my experience to teach me what to do, what not to do. Now, I've done the path of whole food, plant-based. Absolutely loved it for about 6 months, and I started noticing some changes. And it took a while for me to notice those changes, so I went the other way, and I felt better. I mean, we don't get given guidelines. You're born, my brother and my sister, they're both parents. No one gives you directions of how to grow children.
Yeah, there's no instruction book, is there?
Correct. And no one gives you directions on how to eat. So we have to use our vessels, our bodies, and listen attentively, like listen carefully, and listen to the signals.
Yeah.
Make the right decisions based on those, and listen to your experiences.
Yeah, you do need to listen to your body.
Like I did with the carbohydrates. I listened to my experience. Okay, who are you to tell me that I should not be having that? Okay, well, my goal is to build as much muscle as possible, and within reason with the body, and then I feel my performance is better with a little bit of carbs, not too much, just a little. Who are you to tell me I can't do that?
Well, when you're ingesting carbs, it goes straight into the blood system, effectively. So if you're using it at that very time, at that moment,
That's the thing.
You're in some intense set. It's going straight into the muscle. Yeah,
It's the targeted.
It's not hanging around and
which another thing which raises. I would like to know if there was the likelihood of the randle cycle being activated when we do have carbohydrates, if the cell cytosol is replete with fat, but the glucose is not getting to the cell because it's being utilized in that moment, will it activate the randle cycle? And if so, to what degree? These are all things I would like to know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer, because if at the end of the day, I would always choose health over body composition. And if it did mean that the randle cycle would be activated, which will then take me down the path of chronic systemic inflammation, I would ditch the carbs. Because again, I'm choosing health over body composition, over fitness.
Yeah.
Health comes first, which is probably why we say health and fitness.
Maybe. Yeah.
Health comes first.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does.
So I would ditch the carbs if I did find out that they would be contraindicated in the way that I'd be taking them around training. But I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we can ask Professor Bart Kay when we see
Love
him next.
to. Well, I spoke to him when we had the first Carnivore collective. I spoke to him.
I sat next to him at dinner.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was really good. Oh, we didn't get much of a chance
How
to
funny
talk.
is he? So funny, right?
Yeah.
And he said to me that if you do incorporate carbohydrates, it would take, because I said to him, what if you broke it up? What if you had, let's say, a bolus of food that did not have carbohydrates, it was protein and fat in the AM, and then you had carbohydrates in the PM? He said it would take somewhere in the vicinity of 72 hours for the cell cytosol to be depleted. Okay, or at least you would need 72 hours to offset that, the carbs that you've had.
Yeah.
Okay, that's if you weren't using them. So I'd like to know, what if you were using them though?
Yeah. That's that kind of that threshold point where how much above basal metabolic rate do you need to be to crack into this, carb consumption mode or whatever. Yeah. This threshold from fat adapted to carb burning.
Well,
interesting.
As a comparison, I know online coaches that would not drop their carbohydrates under 1 gram per pound of current body weight. So if I'm 220 pounds, there are certain online coaches who preach the carb machine.
Yeah.
And they would say anything under 1 gram per pound of current body weight, the alarm bells go off. Here's me losing sleep over 20, 30 grams around training.
Yeah.
Here are some coaches preaching 300 to 400 to 500 grams in a day.
10 times that in a day.
You see?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It doesn't make it right, because I'm comparing, I'm not having 500 grams a day, I'm having 20 to 30. I'm not saying that's right. But I do feel there's a difference between having them with every meal and as opposed to structuring them around when your body uses them the most.
Yeah.
Or needs them the most.
That is the differentiating factor, like the chronic use of carbs, like all day long, every day for your whole life.
Correct.
Versus I'm training, So, yeah, maybe you train 3 times a week, So you're only having carbs 3 times a week. You're not having carbs all day long, every day. You're
Well,
not
let's
having like
use it.
200 grams every
Well,
day.
let's say if they did. If they did, then something has to change to not activate the randle cycle. If the carbs have to be up, the fats have to be down. Just like a carnivore, because I know vegans who've lived incredible lives, and they have carbs every day. Look, they're incredible. So let's be honest here, okay? So what's going on there? Well, chances are, if the carbs are up, the fats are down.
Yeah.
Okay? So if the carbs are up, the fats have to be down to not activate the randle cycle. If the fats are up, the carbs have to be down.
Yeah.
How do we know that? Mother Nature. Look at Mother Nature. There's not one food on the planet that's equally high in carbs and fat.
Yeah. Good
There's
point.
not one.
It's only the ultra processed stuff.
That's right.
Yeah, only the man-made stuff.
In its singular solitary state, single ingredient food, solitary state. Fruit, high in carbs, low in fat. Meat, fatty meat, protein and fat, low in carbs.
Yeah.
Where the disconnect became is when we started adding these together.
Engineering foods. Yeah.
That's right. So
we know that fat tastes great. We know that carbs taste great. And
bring them together.
bring them together.
Salt,
Best-selling food. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
Yeah.
Hyper palatable.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think there needs to be, yes, if you are going to have high carbs and you choose the path of that, then something has to offset that and the fats need to be down. Otherwise you would end up with, some contraindications.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's the standard American diet, the standard Australian diet, the SAD diet,
yes,
highly processed. That's where you end up in the middle, isn't it?
that's right.
If you got that fat and carb mix, boom, obesity.
It's almost rocket fuel for the brain. It's just an addiction center, that part that it really, really loves.
Yeah.
That part of the brain that just is
All those dopaminergic signals just
correct.
Yeah.
Which down regulate. You need a bigger signal.
Yeah. Yep.
To offset that. So I thought I'd preface that if those people are choosing to go high in carbs, that have to keep the fats low.
And that's probably what I see when I see those people talking about training, like the high sugar diet people, which is, sort of blown up a bit recently.
Yes.
Bit of controversy and stuff. But they're basically cutting the fats and having heaps of sugar.
Well, you look at Durian Rider, who's he's a
local guy too.
local guy. He's an Adelaide guy.
Yep.
Lovely guy. I think he means well. He's a big advocate of high carbs, low fat, low protein.
So he's in the cycling space too.
He's in the cycling space.
Where it's gels.
Performance.
Yeah. Yep.
So the challenge then is, are we getting enough of the essential nutrients the body requires to be nourished? The first one, most common one, vitamin B12.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That's like the essential amino acids and the essential fatty acids. They're very limited, other than in animal products. So, I know that if I eat a kilo of steak every day, I've got everything I need.
Yes. You've got the creatine, the carnosine, you've got, the taurine, you've got D3, K2, all of them.
B12, potassium, magnesium, trace amounts,
Trace amount, but the amounts that your body needs. But so yes, we can drive up the carbs, drive down the protein and the fat. He's very, very lean.
Yeah.
And a lot of his videos are, let me show you how to get shredded. Okay. And he's shredded for the last 3-4 decades. And I get that. And this is the disconnect now. People are flocking to this. The high sugar diet, they're flocking to it because they see the results it provides. Now, if you look at a whole world through a straw, you miss the bigger picture.
Yeah.
If you're just focused on body composition as a goal, and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get there, including aggressive approaches, we're taking our mind away from health, again into fitness. Okay, so the shift has gone, how can I maximize health? Well, are we maximizing health? Well, now, if you can't get B12, how do you get B12?
Supplements, yeah.
Okay, so by definition, your diet is devoid of nutrients. That if you have to supplement, if you can't eat the way that you are in the wild, your diet's flawed.
Yeah.
As you're eating, if you have to supplement, and I put you out to the wild. Now you can't supplement. Now clearly the diet that you're on is devoid of nutrients.
Yeah.
By
It's not your
definition, you're
ancestrally
supplementing.
appropriate, genetically appropriate diet. Yeah.
Correct. So that's the area we have to look at as well, holistically. I'm all for what serves the human, what serves your experience, and if it continues to work in your favor, like any doctor would say, hey, if it's working for you, keep doing what you're doing, kind of thing. Yeah, but we have to be open if our philosophy has started to fail us, like it did for me with whole food plant-based.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go down that path because at the time I jumped on, you know, the Game Changers were on and all of these documentaries that I got onto, and I was really feeling it, you know, empathic.
Well, nobody likes the idea of like harming animals.
We don't know suffering.
No.
But then at some point it was at the expense of me. I was harming number one. And I thought, okay.
And it's debatable, like monocrop agriculture has led to devastation in our biodiversity, you know, like over the last, specifically since the industrial age with like, you know, huge harvesters and all that kind of stuff. So now we have huge farms. We've bulldozed all the rainforests and all the natural forests. So all that biodiversity that was there, we've just cut it all down. We're growing wheat, you know, we're growing soy, we're growing rice, we're growing, you know, potatoes or tomatoes or whatever it is, but these monocrop agriculture, you know, and you've killed all the deer, you've killed all the fawns, you've killed the rats and the moles and
it's collateral damage.
Yeah.
It's collateral damage at epic proportions here. But going back to when I was doing whole food plant-based and I was denial of oneself in order to not deny another is denial nonetheless.
Yeah.
And it's the highest form of denial. So here's me dying 1,000 deaths because I'm submitting to a way of eating that's no longer serving me to try to save other parts of the world at the expense of me.
Yeah.
What if everybody did that?
Oh, we'd all die off.
And that's probably the best universal question to ask.
There's a good analogy is on aircraft, commercial airliner. Oxygen masks drop, right? They tell you to do what? They tell you to fit your own first.
Before you help somebody
Before you help somebody else, yeah.
Yeah. That universal question is, how do we know whether it's for mankind or not? Okay, what if everybody did that?
If everybody looked after themselves and then looked after everyone else, we'd be in a really good place.
Yeah. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Okay?
Yeah, true. Yep.
So that's a great question. What if everybody did that? Okay. And I find it is a journey of self-realization and self-recreation. So we're here to sort of figure it out. We don't have the guidelines, but we use experience as the grand teacher, as the vehicle to allow us to what to do, what not to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
True. We all have our own experiences. Excellent. All right, Anthony. Let's move on to a few fun questions.
I love fun questions.
Yeah, there's going to be carnivore and keto adapted athletes out there. They're going to want to know.
Okay.
All right. What's your favorite carnivore meal?
I would go with ribeye steak.
Ribeye,
My go-to. And I'm it needs to be a good ribeye, man.
Yeah.
Like it has to be cooked. I'm a medium rare kind of guy. And the quality of the meat has to be ideal as well. So ribeye number one.
Yeah. I love a good ribeye.
Do you?
I do a lot of sous vide.
Oh, beautiful.
If I get ribeye, I do it sous vide. Because it's worth it, you know.
Awesome.
I'm not a big fan of the plastic bags, but you know, hey, sue me. Yeah,
It's okay.
It works.
Yeah.
It works really well.
So you like ribeye too?
Yeah, love ribeye. Yeah.
It's
I mean, my daily is just like any old steak, you know, like is what I eat every day. But
kind of find ribeyes are like the cheat meal to a carnivore.
Yeah.
Because number one, they're not
nice
cheap.
and fatty. Oh,
They're fatty. They just hit the spot.
Yeah.
I honestly feel that the ribeye, that cut of the ribeye, whether it's Scotch, whether it's ribeye, must have the most complete combination of amino acids to fatty acids. Like the protein and fat in that just almost seems to be, the mix of it just seems to be complete. And that cut, it's just like butter.
I'm a big believer that like our flavor and satiation signals are directly linked to like like our gut is telling us what tastes good. Because I mean, every signal in our brain is made up, right? Like something tastes like apple. Well, that's because that's the nutrition profile of an apple. Yeah. So yeah, ribeye. Oh,
Just
love it.
hits the spot.
Yeah. Next up, what's your favorite carnivore snack?
Carnivore snack.
So this is where like either a cheat meal, which we just talked about as ribeye, so that's a bit unfair. But maybe there's lots of carnivore recipes where you're trying to replicate something, like trying to make chocolate or whatever with butter, something like that. What's your favorite snack?
The butter bites typically because of the caramelization and the crunch factor on them. That would be number one.
So just butter bites, straight butter bites. Yeah.
Number two, if I'm being dirty carnivore, would be Greek yogurt with some protein powder.
Yeah.
That would be like, and almost in fact, if I'm not being strict carnivore, and if I'm having, because I do have certain repercussions with dairy, particularly phlegm build up and mucus build up. So I'm careful with the dairy.
Yeah.
But if I've got a good streak without it, and I'm like, oh, I feel really good. Let's get some dairy.
Have some dairy today. Yeah.
So then I have that. That would be where I go to.
Yep. So butter bites. Yeah, I haven't actually tried making my own butter bites recently, but I did see a video. It was on Instagram or something, but this guy had made, I think it was like Dubai chocolate, but carnivore Dubai chocolate. So, because there's a popular Dubai chocolate anyway. So you break it open and all this stuff oozes out, and it was made out of like caramelized butter as the outer casing to be the chocolate, and then inside I think it was honey mixed with something. Might have been
Well,
it looked amazing.
There's a Randle cycle.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you got your fat and your carbs all in one hit.
That's
there.
right.
Yep, one large bolus of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
All right. So the final question.
Okay.
What's your carnivore dirty little secret?
My carnivore dirty little secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there something?
Yeah, there is.
It's like anti-carnivore.
Correct.
That you still do.
Yeah. So you know how I would add in carbohydrates around training. Every once in a while, I have complete carnivore off day, and I usually do that with sushi. And I find, especially when I'm dropping low levels of body fat, and then sporadically throwing in a carbohydrate refeed, the muscles just fill up with glycogen. There's a greater pump there. It's just for aesthetics, to be honest, and performance. But there is, I do that from time to time.
Yeah.
So I would throw in a sushi meal, give or take.
Go to a sushi train or something.
Something like that. I would.
Or do you cook your own?
Yeah. Well, I'd go to a sushi train, and I would throw that in there. And funny enough, I wake up a lot leaner the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, vascular leaner, but that's infrequently. I don't do that often.
Yeah.
It might be every few weeks, maybe even a month or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So then I'd do that and repeat it. And I used to say, get off your diet to stay on your diet. But as long as it's not getting off in the sense of sugar and or processed stuff.
Yeah.
So
my dirty little secret is I like to watch a movie with a block of chocolate or something once in a while. Sometimes you
dark chocolate, or do you go dairy?
I get like the gross like stuff. Get like a Cadbury snack or something. Like if it's got jelly beans in it, whatever. But just something like terrible.
Yeah.
And I do feel like I have a hangover the next day.
You do, don't you?
Yeah.
It's very interesting, like Alan.
Like the DOMs actually, if I do that the night before a workout, and then I do a workout, I have like terrible DOMs.
DOMs, yeah. You feel that. It's funny that we fall into the trap of making poor decisions when we feel really good.
Yeah.
Like you do a great track record of eating carnivore for 2-3 weeks, and you feel so incredible. So it's like, hey, maybe...
Yeah. There's a new movie out.
There's a new movie.
Yeah.
Let's get that chocolate bar.
Yeah, I'm going to sit on the
some
couch.
Sushi.
My dogs are going to sit there, and I'm going to eat chocolate.
Well, if you own the choice, you own the consequence. So you have to sort of, if you made your bed, you get to sleep in it, kind of.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know the repercussions of it, but I don't know, man. Like, you're going to be naughty from time to time. You're going to break the rules from time to time.
Yeah.
Just get back on, live life, and
Well, we might be coaches, but we're still human.
We're human.
And, yeah.
And I'm off to Japan in 3 weeks' time. I've got to save myself for at least a sushi meal somewhere.
You're going to catch up with Dave Mack?
Yes, I'm actually, for those that...
You're going there for that, or?
Yeah, and there as well. But I'm going to be training him.
Oh, wow, cool.
And we're going to sit and, after that, have a steak together.
Excellent.
It'll be exciting. So for those who are watching...
Yeah.
For those who are watching this right now, just... Yeah.
Hang tight, yeah.
Hang tight. It'll be a great sort of podcast. It's called Meetup.
Yep.
Okay. So again, we're going to meet up with carnivore influencers all on around the planet.
Is it a convention or just a private party kind of thing? Like, is it?
No, the meetup is like it's a little segment in my YouTube.
Oh, it's okay. Yep.
My own YouTube.
Yeah.
So it'll just meet up with all these influencers.
Yeah.
Carnivore.
Is it like, so this is like a new series for you, is it?
Yeah, a new series.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so we travel to wherever they're at. I'm also doing another one with online clients that have transformed. I'd like to meet them in person and then just go to their hometown and they show me around.
Yeah.
Take it to a steakhouse, we'll train, we'll do a meal together and just talk about their story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'd love the idea just to meet my clients that I've helped.
Yeah, when you haven't met them face to face, that'd be really cool. Yeah,
it's great, and we can rather than interviewing them, just meet them in person. I think this is great.
Yeah,
and we have a lot of this, but wouldn't it be awesome to actually
just
meet
hang
in
out.
person?
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we're at the end of the podcast. So let's talk about where can people find you, Anthony?
On this particular channel right now is where they can find me, number one. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share this if you feel it's been of value. Number one, so this YouTube channel, subscribe. Number two, the Lean 7 on my Instagram, and then go to the lean7.com.au website and sign up for the school community, which is a private platform and offers the entire Lean 7 program from start to finish absolutely free.
Yeah, wow. Yep.
So I demonetized that a few years ago now, and then we have a thriving 700 plus strong community of superstars, successful testimonials, and they can find
I'll have to get on there.
Yeah, you would love it. I mean, if you love the education we've shared, you would get onto that and just start 10 chapters, start from chapter 1. Go right through. All my training philosophies are in there. And then we'll be launching the Lean 7 fitness app very, very soon. So stay tuned in all the social medias. I'll be posting that out once it comes, once it's live. And I'm so excited to share it with the world because I've got a great team of people working around me. And it's my opportunity to share more of the philosophies that I've learned over the last 25 years.
Awesome.
So
cool. So did you mention Instagram?
Instagram, the Lean 7.
Instagram, the Lean 7.
Subscribe to this platform that you
YouTube,
see the video on. The Lean 7, it's lean7.com.au. All the links will be in the actual description.
Yeah.
Lean7.com.au and the school community and the fitness app will be just around the corner. So.
Yep. Cool. All right.
Great. By the way, great questions, Alan. Awesome. So great to chat with you. I remember you spoke to me at the end of the Carnivore Live and you interviewed me on your platform.
I got a series of interviews. I was super stoked to.
Do you still have that?
Yeah, so on my YouTube channel.
We'll pop the link below on this YouTube. So if I want to reach out to that conversation.
So if people want to find me, I'm on Ironvor. So Ironvor is a fusion of iron voracity.
Nice,
so
like
iron hunger. It's a play on carnivore, So that's where that name came from. But Ironvor .fitness on Instagram, Ironvor Fitness on YouTube. I think it's just at Ironvor. Soon to be ironvor.com. There's nothing there at the moment, but I've got the domain.
Catchy name, I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, well, I thought very long and hard about making a name.
Ironvor. It almost sounds medieval.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
I wanted a strong name,
It's got the vor on the end of it.
Yeah.
And the iron, the whole thing is just medieval to me.
Yeah, I wanted a strong made up word that would, so I could, trademarks and stuff like there's 8 billion people on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So every word is taken unless you make it up.
So true, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
So it had to be an original name for me. So,
I loved it. Well, I enjoyed this conversation. Thanks so much for everyone listening.
Yep.
And we can do it again very, very soon.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out in little old Adelaide.
Yes.
While you're home. Yeah.
While we're home. Yeah.
All right.
Tune in.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Thanks,
Take care, guys. Bye.
Yep.